Life is good. My 39 years as a teacher of natural resources at Finger Lakes Community College in Canandaigua, New York, could not have been more fulfilling. Sharing my deep love for the forests, meadows, and waters about my modest home with several generations of students filled my existence with a rich sense of purpose. Upon retirement, I poured energy into projects about my home to keep busy and exercised, not the least of which included construction of a field stone retaining wall and hand processing of fuel wood to heat my home. I do harbor a deep concern for the impending consequences of human impact upon our planet, and do feel a strong sense of obligation to do what I am able to diminish my negative impact on the life support system we call Mother Earth. My trip to New Zealand put 1,000 pounds of carbon dioxide into the air. My pickup truck generates about 12,000 pounds of carbon dioxide, contributing more than my fair share to the serious situation we call climate change or global warming. I decided that I would make an attempt to sequester carbon in a state which eliminates it from entering the atmosphere by burying charcoal, incorporating it within the soil. It remains stable for almost indefinitely. This was proven to be a way that the Amazonian cultures actually created fertile soil enough to support their large populations. If I could bury the carbon in the soil, every pound of carbon would be equivalent to 2.5 pounds of carbon dioxide if you run the chemical relationships weight-wise. And by quenching charcoal from my absolutely delightful wood stove and subsequently processing it, as we will see, I could offset my impact upon air travel, a significant amount of carbon, and my operation of my pickup truck, quite a bit more carbon in the process. I find it interesting how light charcoal is. There's a chunk of wood that's not completely burned yet. We've got to take that out and put it back in the stove because it does still have some wood substance to it. It hasn't all been pyrolyzed. Once the charcoal is quenched, we carry the bucket over to an appropriate location in my cellar and dump the contents of the bucket, water and charcoal, on a window screen. Water passes right through into a tote beneath, and the charcoal itself drains. Quite a good quantity. It's about a 5-gallon pail. Transfer the quenched, make sure it's dead out, charcoal into plastic bags, complements of the organic chicken feed. Want to recycle bags if you can. This charcoal in this form is in large chunks and would not make an appropriate addition to soil. It's necessary to grind it up. I've been experimenting with process. I love to solve problems, invent as needed. I created a mortar and pestle out of a huge hickory stump and actually a piece of American chestnut as a mortar and pestle system. Put some charcoal in large form in the opening in the hickory log and pound on it with the pestle works well enough, really not very well at all. Spits the charcoal all over the cellar and doesn't really seem to get at it very well. This first attempt I deemed to be unsuccessful, so let's experiment and try another method to grind the charcoal up. I did call one of the biochar gurus in this area, whom I will not name, and his suggestion was that I put my charcoal in a burlap bag and drive my truck back and forth over it to crush it up, generating more carbon dioxide in the process. This small quantity of pulverized charcoal I transferred in a manner which obviously isn't very efficient. And here too, working with this material. Charcoal's not a clean substance to work with. It's clean dirt, but you sure get black and gritty dealing with it in this manner. A cup at a time, hardly an efficient process. I'm not going to produce much in this manner, so we've got to upgrade our methods and find a different way to do this. Another load of charcoal in the mortar, and a piece of wood that I fashioned actually to make shingles with a froe. That's called a beetle. Worked a lot better. 2 or 3 times as fast as the American chestnut pestle to pick up and slam down. This system still spits charcoal all over the cellar floor, but produced double, 2 or 3 times the rate of production. A little better shape for the excavating implement. I'm starting to fill the bags up with pulverized charcoal, and of this sufficient particle size to incorporate with the soil and adsorb the nutrients and water as they do. Try a different system. Use an axe head and the silver milk, stainless steel milk pail as a pestle, and the axe itself as the mortar, or vice versa. The mortar is the pail in this case, the pestle will be the axe. But throw a good quantity of material, about 3 or 4 times as much as I can put inside the depression on the hickory stump, and then crash onto it with the back of the axe. Still a little bit messy, pieces of charcoal flying up into the sky. When I look back on this experimentation, I do have to laugh at myself a little bit. It was not yet a system that would be time efficient or product efficient. But this triple, quadrupled the rate of production with my second method, 10 times as fast as the first system. But still not fast enough to warrant the effort. It is actually quite a satisfying thing to crush up charcoal. It seems, once it happens, as sufficiently and as quickly as it did compared to the mortar and pestle system I used earlier. That's the kind of an activity you'd conduct half an hour at a time, just for the fun of it, to take a study break, put your book down, and go get a little exercise. Having the strong interest in making this system work, we changed our operation dramatically. This amount of charcoal that I produced, I incorporated in my flower beds and in my flower gardens. I did not use any kind of a control to determine indeed if there is a measurable impact of adding charcoal to the soil. The soil's pretty suitable for daffodils to begin with. I wish I'd had the foresight to make some paired plots, but in the meantime I certainly do enjoy the daffodils and feel I'm doing a little bit towards sequestering carbon. I did I put in some inquiries about who would use a significant quantity of biochar and be willing to measure the impact of it. I did obtain through eBay an ice crusher, which I thought might work, and put in a gallon or so of charcoal and crank this thing. It doesn't go round and round. You have to work at it, but it's fine exercise. And the ice crushing impact of those points reduces the size significantly. I had it fed into this device made of several pieces of lumber. There's a 3/4 inch hardware cloth screen and about 4 inches of space beneath that, which takes the finer pieces and strains them right out. Move the partially pulverized charcoal along the screen. Half of it falls through, and the other half goes on to the second stage, which we'll see in a second. It's possible to do a 5-gallon pail in a matter of about 10 minutes at this stage. The charcoal coming through, some of it gets crushed up, other pieces come through without being reduced significantly in size. It's possible to put them right back through the ice crusher and continue to reduce them, which I did do, but I found that it was equally efficient to pass the pieces on to this next stage, a second stage of crushing, feeding it back into the ice crusher hopper. Well, if you're inclined to experiment and enjoy doing projects like this, it's a delightful activity. I know I will continue to work on this. In time, the whole length of that sieve arrangement becomes filled with crushed charcoal. The pieces too large to fit through the screening end up being discharged into the tote at the end of the chute there. But a lot of it does get very finely divided and would incorporate nicely into the soil to absorb nutrients, hold water, add basically good health to the soil. This process vastly increased the production of food in the Amazon basin. There's not definitive evidence yet that it works really well in this climate in terms of soil improvement and increasing agricultural productivity. My purpose in doing this is to sequester carbon, and if I could find a use for this material and have it be worth somebody's while, I'm wanting to do it. There's probably 2 to 3 gallons of crushed material from that part of the operation. I did fabricate a funnel to facilitate this particular stage in the operation. A piece of rug is you can always find ways to improve a process, to speed it up, make it more efficient. The second stage, I went to my neighbor, John Megan, a machinist down off Route 21 here in Canandaigua, a phenomenally talented machinist. He took an interest in helping me out. The steel drum and some expanded metal. I built the wooden chute out of seasoned white oak dado grooves and angles that seemed appropriate. An extended handle on that drives the drum really drew the charcoal through, and the texture of it now is just about perfect. Well, again, we don't have the research to tell us all of the steps that maximize and make the process as effective as it might possibly be. But production starts to pick up once I get the and the exercise is really fine too. And good grief, I can't read and write all day long. I'd have to get out and do something useful. The value of that charcoal is, for barbecue purposes, is significant. I produced enough for my home use, my gardens and my daffodil patches, probably helping the productivity feed the deer in my yard. These guys come in every once in a while and entertain me profoundly, and have been known to fill up a section of my freezer with steaks and chops too. Working at this, an hour or two a day for over the course of a month or so, I generated what amounted to nearly 1.5 tons of char, some of moisture content. I didn't dry it all, and arranged with John Hunt of Italy Hill Produce. John Hunt and his spouse Carolyn Bouchard Hunt have started an organic farm market routine in Italy Hill, and agreed to take as much biochar as I could produce. He has instituted a paired plot operation where he will be able to compare the impact of the biochar on his vegetable production. Even if it doesn't increase the produce of veggies, it will make a difference, and that is my purpose. The significant quantity of charcoal I have worked into my own soils and the 3,000 pounds of carbon I delivered to the Italy Hill Produce operation represent the chemical equivalent of 8,000 to 9,000 pounds of carbon dioxide. This offset the entire carbon footprint of my recent trip to New Zealand and a sizable fraction of the greenhouse gas production of my now Toyota Tacoma. This, along with my practice of heating with wood, utilizing less than 1,000 kilowatts of electrical power each month, hanging my clothes upon the line in the sun, and a number of other energy-conserving practices, allow me to approach a carbon-neutral footprint. The escalation of biochar production on a global basis, along with a simple hobby-scale production of biochar, which I shall continue to practice, do offer real promise for mitigating human-induced climate change. Yes, individuals can make a difference.